Disinformation knows no borders, and today the stakes seem higher than ever. Welcome to Truth Talks, a bold podcast series tackling the challenges of fake news and propaganda head-on. Join us for engaging short conversations with experts from all EU member states and Ukraine as we uncover the truth behind dominant disinformation trends and explore the strategies shaping Europe's fight against manipulation. In this episode, we are zooming in on the Netherlands. Today's guest is Robert van der Noordaa, investigative journalist and co-founder of Trollrensics, specializing in hybrid warfare, disinformation, and Russian influence operations. Welcome to Truth Talks.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. So, the Netherlands is a country where information flows freely, but misleading narratives can still take root. What are the dominant disinformation narratives that are circulating in the Netherlands?
I think before I will answer that in a second, but I think before telling this, it's good to know that we have quite a strong far right in the Netherlands. I think most people heard about this PVV and Geert Wilders. We also have some other political parties like this Forum for Democracy. Don't know why they call themselves Forum for Democracy, but that
to mislead. To misinform.
Correct. Seem like the opposite. But that's important to know because the political landscape is often very important how much disinfo and propaganda goes around on social media. There are, of course, no boundaries to social media, but if you just watch Dutch people, then you can see a lot of this propaganda.
But as you are saying that, you are saying they are strong. How strong are they, apart from the fact that actually Geert Wilders is a part of the government and he was the first in the last elections, yes?
Yeah, the unusual thing is that there's a new party which didn't exist before the elections. It's somebody who split off from another political party. The party is called NSC, and now virtually it collapsed, but they managed to get 20 seats. The politician who started it's very popular, and he said, I will not work with this PV and Geert Wilders, but behind the screens, that was all he was doing. So he was extremely intent. Without his political party and the 20 seats that he acquired after elections, it would not have been possible to form a coalition with PVV. So PVV is more or less still the strongest party in the Netherlands, but it's like similar in number of seats to now the combination of two other political parties, this GroenLinks PvdA. But Geert Wilders is quite pro-Russian, so it also gives you a more political landscape where Russian propaganda flows more freely. And if you compare it to a country like Finland, where you have almost no extreme left and extreme right, but it's more central political oriented people in the country, there this propaganda you will see less, but it also has less traction. So it's completely different. So the political landscape is very important if you look at a certain country. And in the Netherlands, we unfortunately have a lot of far right. We also have a lot of, what also helps is we have a lot of like alternative media, which a lot of it is just plain lies. So it's not just propaganda, it's horrific lies what they push. There are about 20 of those, what they call themselves media companies, but they shouldn't be called media companies. And this also has quite a lot of traction.
And who is there to judge which media shouldn't be called the media and which should?
Yeah, that's always an interesting thing to discuss. I'm a scientist. I have two technical degrees from two different universities, and I look at facts. So if somebody says that there are lizards, there were some sort of deep state conspiracy theory, etc., then it's like there is no evidence that we are being ruled by some sort of lizard people, and that's actually a theory that's still pushed quite a lot. Some of this propaganda is like more conspiracy theory, and some of this propaganda is, for instance, more related to, for instance, Russia or whatever. Yeah, but I think in this case, I've done research in a lot of different countries. So some of this propaganda that you see in the Netherlands is quite similar to what you see in France or Germany or Italy or even Poland now. So it's a lot of propaganda about immigrants. That's politically quite popular. A lot of people do not like immigrants.
But you actually have immigrants. We don't have so many of them, apart from the freshest wave after the full-scale invasion of Russia against Ukraine. But you have had migrants.
It went down because also people returned to Syria and not people escaping from Syria. So it dropped down. But it has nothing to do with what this PVV has been doing. Although they probably like to credit themselves that the immigration is down. The thing is that you can misuse statistics. A lot of these immigrants are actually not like refugees from a country, but they're people who find a job in Netherlands. Yeah, if you don't want people from other countries, then you should make illegal that they apply for Dutch jobs. But in a lot of different spheres, so engineers and doctors and qualified people, you can't find people anymore. If you're, I don't know, some engineering company, you want to hire someone, it's extremely difficult because you don't have those people. So, of course, a company that makes these chip machines, this ASML, for instance, it's a fantastic company, and they employ a lot of people from India. They even build villages for them in the Netherlands. So most of this immigration is not refugees from war zones like Ukraine or Syria or whatever, but it's workers. Yeah.
So coming back to my question, partly you answered it, mentioning migration. So what are the major disinformative narratives circulating in the Netherlands?
There are a lot of different topics, so we can talk for hours about different topics. But for instance, you see a lot of anti-LGBT content, also with not necessarily all lies, but it's definitely something that is being pushed. This corresponds with Russian networks. They also like to send out a lot of anti-LGBT type of content. Another very famous propaganda narrative is, and that is something that Russia started more than 10 years ago already with this internet research agency, is anti-vax info. So if you take this vaccine, you will die and it's unhealthy and God knows what. And that was long before COVID. So in COVID, it peaked and it's quite popular. In the Netherlands, we also have a very large group of people who spread the most crazy anti-vaccination theories. And even after the COVID seems to be more or less gone at the moment, but still they keep repeating this. But these people are apparently very susceptible for propaganda. So the moment that most of this propaganda pandemic was over, they somehow switched to spreading Russian propaganda, most of it related to the Ukraine war. So they went from vaccination experts to war experts, these people. It's very impressive what they do. Yeah, you see a lot of propaganda related to the war in Ukraine. I also noticed, funny enough, to make a very short jump to Poland, you also see like the support for Ukrainians is going down, and strange claims by Russian troll accounts, like a lot of prostitutes from Ukraine, make Poland a terrible place and this kind of stuff. So apparently in your elections, it's also something that is being helped. In the
we don't hear a lot about prostitutes in the mainstream political discussion, but probably on these fringe accounts that are actually opening the Overton window of acceptable views, they are working there somewhere.
Yeah, indeed. Then you have, I don't know, a million other kind of topics. But during elections, a lot of it was anti-immigration, also anti-EU. What is
So now we are talking about Poland or the Netherlands, so that we are sure.
No, Netherlands. I'm still talking about propaganda. So this World Economic Forum, you see a lot of propaganda that the people push that is some sort of deep state conspiracy theory, which ruins the.
Is it also anti-Semitic? Because in the US there is this Kabbalah, Jewish Kabbalah ruling the world. It seems a little bit similar, but you are not mentioning the xenophobic part.
It's not all very clear, but this WEF seems to be in the same corner of the propaganda, which is on globalism.
Mm-hmm.
So that there is some sort of world conspiracy theory to grab power, etc. So that is similar to this WEF. One thing you see during elections, both country elections and European elections in the Netherlands, is that Dutch people see some political parties in the Netherlands as like a sort of part of this, or very much connected to this World Economic Forum, like the Dutch political party D66. So it's a way to demonize these parties. And sometimes it goes as far as that Merkel and Rutte are part of a club that drink baby blood. It's some of this propaganda you like can't even make up. That it's so crazy.
Rings a bell to QAnon propaganda, misinformation. They had the same.
Yeah, and this QAnon in the US, people laughed about it in the beginning, and then they saw that it was quite influential, actually. Now you see it less, but still some of these very crazy conspiracy theories seem to be similar or coming from this QAnon corner, indeed. And then you see, unfortunately, because some of these political parties are quite pro-Russian, you see a lot of this Russian propaganda. And one very famous case, which is still you see quite a lot of propaganda about, is the downing of the Malaysian airplane MH17, which was shot down by the Russians and crashed somewhere near Donetsk, the wreckage. And for years there is propaganda pushed about it, and you still see people spreading like it's Ukraine or it was actually this MH370 airplane which disappeared somewhere in Asia, and people put dead bodies in it, etc. I think that's probably
creative. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very creative. The thing is that I think that MH17 is probably one of the most long-running propaganda campaigns that is can be attributed to Russia. And the other thing, but I think Poland also has its fair share of it, is that everything related to farmers.
So you mean stuff like Green Deal?
Yeah, but it's not just one topic. In the Netherlands, we have a lot of farmers. The farmers are great, and I don't think the general farmer is a problem for the Netherlands. But there are some really large farmers that have mainly cows or pigs. It's the manure, so we have this nitrogen problem. There's a lot of propaganda like without farmers there's no food. Well, 90% of all this meat that is being produced is being exported. So apparently you could cut 90% of these farms and still have enough food in the Netherlands. So that there's a lot of propaganda related to this. And you also see that even related to Ukraine, in 2016, there was some far-right people organized a referendum against the association agreement with Ukraine. It might not be 100% like untrue. I mean, if you open the border with Ukraine and if Ukraine can export all their agro products cheaper than in Europe, it's of course they're competitors to.
Of course, we have seen consequences of that also among the Polish farmers.
Yeah, exactly. With the people even emptying trains or trucks, etc. Farmers at your borders, this kind of stuff. And in the Netherlands, there's a lot of propaganda, but actually it's more of a sort of vehicle which makes it very difficult to deal with this nitrogen problem in the Netherlands, which also Europe is pushing a lot to like take care of this because it's seriously a problem, and we can't. In a lot of areas in the Netherlands, you can't even build a normal house anymore because under this nitrogen regulations, you can't construct it if it's at a certain level, because whatever you build will also have a certain impact. And if the level is already too high, you can't build anything. But still, a lot of people were very happy to vote for this farmer party. And I love farmers. I worked for farmers in the past. I still have very good relationships with farmers. But I think we should do something about this nitrogen problem. And the other thing that they do is pesticides, which should really be banned, are still being used or even reintroduced. And that I don't think it's very positive what this Dutch BBB party for the farmers is doing. But that's the propaganda you see in a lot of different countries. You already said so yourself. You see this kind of propaganda in Poland as well.
Okay, so you mentioned disinformation that is related, targeted against LGBTQ people. And in view, at least, of us in Poland, the Netherlands is quite a progressive country. So is it a myth, this progressivity?
It's getting less progressive, unfortunately.
And how come? Is it like the result of propaganda, or is it a bottom-up backlash from inside of the society that is being used by the propaganda makers and politicians?
Yeah, it's both. The one thing, and that is often very strongly tied to far right, is that you see conservative or Christian parties. In the Netherlands, a lot of this anti-LGBT propaganda, but also propaganda about, for instance, young children, like up till like from ages like I don't know, 8 till 12 in primary school. They get classes on sexuality, this kind of stuff, and you also see a lot of propaganda, really terrible propaganda that is actually grooming children for pedophiles, these kind of sort of deep state QAnon type of things. So it partly comes from religious groups or very conservative parties. Sometimes you hear about this horseshoe theory that the far left and the far right, in the end, the horseshoe almost touches, and they definitely have similarities. And in the 60s, 70s, a lot of people were like half naked on the beach. Nowadays, that's also gone. So you see these changes in a society, and also young people that are definitely less tolerant towards LGBT people. In Poland, well, this PIS political party even had these. I never understood how that worked, but there were these anti-LGBT zones, even some areas, and it's like
Yes, but it all was turned back, fortunately, in the end. Okay, so interesting to hear about the Netherlands. I wanted to ask, because now you're talking about parties, about Russia, and some part of disinformation, but also views themselves being created from the heart of the society, so in a way, bottom up. I would like to ask you about other sources of disinformation in the Netherlands, apart from Russia, apart from the far-right politicians, apart from the inside depths of the internet. Are there any other actors, state actors there? Anything influences how it looks like?
we have a lot of English TV shows, so partly we're quite oriented towards the US. So aside from all this Russian propaganda, whether it's related to MH17 or other topics, or the war in Ukraine, you see a lot of disinfo coming from these American MAGA people, and that's some of it even has this QAnon type of background. And this Trump doesn't care about the truth at all. He just goes somewhere and tells some story completely unprepared. And sometimes you can catch him telling lie after lie after lie. He doesn't care. This just is the way he communicates. Maybe in some cases he doesn't even mean to lie. I don't think he cares whether he tells the truth or not. He just tells a story that he thinks will appeal to people, and apparently it does appeal to quite a lot of people. But people believe this kind of propaganda. I mean, one famous thing. It's interesting debates. These capital sort of coup, that all these people went into this capital, and one woman was even killed in the capital because she was trying to climb through some window. I mean, this was definitely Trump trying to grab power by letting people sort of annex this capital, and now he pardoned everybody who is for the victims, the policemen who died, etc. It must be horrific to see this. But this kind of propaganda, I mean, there is no boundary to news or social media, so you see this propaganda coming from other countries. It's the same.
So globalization of propaganda.
Yeah. Indeed, and now with this war between Israel and Hamas, Gaza, that debate is so incredibly poisoned. I mean, I have a lot of Jewish friends. I don't think anyone likes that all these people in Gaza are being murdered and hospitals are being bombed and children are being bombed. But the moment that you say something about it, immediately everybody jumps on your neck that you're an anti-Semite and you hate Jews and this kind of bullshit. So I'm glad that I'm not the Israel expert, because I think that's worse.
I think it's also without borders, this challenge of commenting on what's going on in Gaza.
This whole social media is poison, and you have real people spreading disinfo. But if you look at the all these networks and inauthentic behavior, I mean, China employs thousands and thousands of people who probably run hundreds of thousands of accounts on social media. China was one of the parties which was spreading massive disinfo on social media. There seems to be some sort of cooperation with Russia. And when this war started, full-scale war beginning to 2022, we had in our system a very quite large Chinese network, and the amount of Russian propaganda was aimed at Ukraine, but also like NATO is the whole reason that Russia starts this war. So a lot of this social media is poison. And in my opinion, it will be a lot better if we just delete all these platforms. Also for your children, you see the effect on children too. The whole day they're just flicking through these short movies on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. I mean.
I hear that you are very emotional about your topic of focus.
I was the biggest fan of this Twitter before Elon Musk turned it into X. That made it a lot worse. I mean, now Facebook also dropped its moderation. Elon Musk definitely bought this whole platform to have Trump elected, but he's also globally trying to influence stuff. So he's pushing that AfD should be ruling in Germany. This kind of stuff. It's insane that somebody pays $44 billion for a platform just to get. That is actually more globalism. That's really globalism. What Trump and far right from other countries and Russia is doing. They're accusing everybody else of doing this, but it's actually them doing it.
Okay, now I would like to ask you, in a way you already answered, but I will still push this question about what is unique in the Netherlands, in the Dutch disinformation landscape. What is exceptional for the Netherlands?
The whole thing why it really gets a lot of traction is this combination between having a lot of far-right political parties with quite a lot of followers, partly the conservative people. They're more susceptible to this propaganda and lies than in a country like Finland or Sweden. That whole combination.
And why is it so? Why they are more susceptible?
Partly it has to do with the fact that these far-right parties also don't care about facts. I mean, if they would be honest about the immigrants, that most of them just find a job and are really skilled people and are not some sort of political refugee that are fleeing from a war in a whatever country. So a lot of this far-right is related to what people call populism. It sounds really nice, right? The word sounds positive, populism, but it's instead of populism, we should say like terrible lies. Maybe people then understand it has nothing to do with the truth. If you want to be a popular political party, you should also start pushing immediately that immigrants destroy everything and grandma can't even afford to pay bread anymore or her rent, and it's all because of these damn immigrants. I never understand, by the way, why partly people spread immigrants take your job, but then the next day, then they say these immigrants don't work. I think that's very difficult to combine. How can they work and not work at the same time?
It's not so important.
Yeah, I missed the logic about this. So the same narratives have no traction in Finland or Sweden at all. So it's interesting to.
So why do you think that the Dutch people are more vulnerable than others?
Well, what I said, the combination between conservatism, far-right people, and what also is quite.
But maybe, I don't know, you are maybe less educated. Any other information, any other excuse?
A lot of these voters for PVV are not like the people with university degrees. So there is definitely correlation between education and what people vote. A lot of people who have very high education vote for this D66 or VVD because they have some sort of great company, and a lot of these VVD voters, they don't want taxes to be very high because that means that all the money that their company makes goes to the states. So this is one of the few political parties that prevents all your money going to the state. But one very important thing here is that we have quite a heavy landscape with this alternative propaganda media, and it pushes out an insane number of lies. Now they even have a television station called ON, Unheard Netherlands would be the literal translation. but they're heard anyways because they have a TV station now, so it's not unheard. And if you watch what is being presented there, then it's extremely painful to watch. We can actually see what our software does, and I've been doing this since 2015. That you see that some of these alternative media articles are being shared more and more and more. So that means it gets more traction. People like these kind of lies.
And where are they present, these alternative media? On cable or on YouTube? Where they are placed?
In most cases, they're websites that publish articles. This ON is a TV station, like a regular state-owned media company that publishes. So they make TV shows and sort of news. It's very painful to watch. I try to avoid it as much as possible. And in some cases, like you said, it can be YouTube, indeed. Yeah, that's it. Combination of it. So it's some of it even have printed editions. So there's this called the Andere Krant, the other newspaper, and it's also very horrific, very pro-Russian propaganda. You can actually find it at a lot of stores. Some stores refuse it because the owner of the store or the guy who works there hates it. But sometimes it's still you can find stores where people actually can buy this newspaper.
What you're describing sounds really bleak. So now let's conclude our podcast with hopefully something positive. So I would like to ask you, what's being done to counter disinformation in the Netherlands, and what more would you recommend?
I think it will be, if you like democracy, then maybe you should take care of these propaganda media. But the thing is that politicians are very afraid of these far-right parties and the voters because they're quite aggressive. So they don't dare to do anything. This whole thing, propaganda, is almost impossible to discuss in politics because it immediately turns to Big Brother is watching you, like you're trying to influence your population. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that it changed quite a lot since 2000. In the last 10 years, I've seen Netherlands change from quite open, normal country to a quite far-right propaganda landscape. I just hope that at some point something will be done about these social media platforms and this alternative media. But I'm afraid I can't share a lot of success stories. But if this gets worse, I think I should also, I probably want to move to Ukraine because there I don't have all this propaganda and bullshit.
Okay, so we didn't manage to find positive notes to end with. I'm really sorry to hear that. I think it has been the saddest podcast in our series. So our thoughts are with you, the Dutch people. So that brings us to a sad end of our talk about the Dutch disinformation landscape. And I'm really grateful for this discussion.
It's a very interesting topic. I truly would have liked to end it in a more positive way, but for the moment, I only see it getting worse, unfortunately. If I would have seen something else, I would have told you. Thank you so much.
Truth Talk series is part of the project Guardians of Truth, fact-checking during Poland's EU presidency, which is supported by European Media and Information Fund, managed by Calouste Gulbenkian Foundation.